All right.
Awesome.
Ross, you want to kick us off? You haven't been on the podcast in a
I
while.
know. I'm so excited, actually. Hey, welcome to the For Evansville podcast. My name is Ross Chapman. I'm the director at For Evansville, and I'm here with Jonathan. Jonathan, I think you've been on almost every single podcast this season. Is that right?
There's like maybe one that I haven't been on.
Yeah, see, you're lucky. I'm excited because I get to come back today. Adrian, who has been with us most recently, joining you. And our guest, she had a baby. Yep. And so she's on maternity leave for a little while. And so you guys are stuck with me. I'm very excited to be back. And if you haven't listened to the podcast before, we're really just exploring what does it mean to not just be in Evansville, but to be for Evansville. And how do we create a city where everyone really has the opportunity to flourish and live life to the full? And we've been exploring kind of the basic needs that we need to address to make that happen. And then hearing from people who are actually living their lives for Evansville.
That's right. And we've heard from a lot of really great people and a lot of really great stories. And we have one more for you today who we're really excited to talk about. It's Zac Heronemus. And he wears a lot of hats here in Evansville. And we're going to talk to him about a couple different of those. But we extended an invitation to him kind of last minute to be on this episode because he posted some videos from an experience that he recently had called the 48 Hours in the Life of Experience, the Homeless Experience Project.
Yeah, the Homeless Experience Project.
And so we're excited to hear from him about that, basically spending 48 hours experiencing homelessness in Evansville.
It was really good to hear from him because he's a director. He's a city council, serves on city council, and he's just got an awesome experience of Evansville, but he had the unique chance to have a totally different experience of what people are experiencing in our city when they're homeless. So you're going to get a chance to hear from him about that, and we're going to try to work in some other perspectives as well. There are people kind of going on social media, sharing their experience that they went through these 48 hours as well, some other city leaders, and so we're really excited about that. We think it's a great episode to continue learning about our city, but also hearing from somebody who is trying to spend his life being for Evansville.
Maybe to start off, just introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself, and let our listeners know who they're hearing from today.
Thank you for having me as well. My name is Zac Heronemus. I'm the executive director with Aurora as a homeless services agency here in Evansville. I also, have the privilege to serve as the third ward city councilor here in Evansville too. So my, experience and history in Evansville is about, pushing 15 years now. I grew up as an Army brat, so I lived in a lot of communities, but my wife and I kind of really settled down, settled roots. We've had our kids. We've, bought and owned our only house here in Evansville.
Wow.
So,
wow. Yeah.
And for me personally, most of my professional experience has been in public service one way, shape, or form.
Okay, so I have to ask then, when did you decide or realize that you're for Evansville?
My wife and I landing in Evansville was really kind of hap circumstance. We didn't set out to move here. We were actually living in East Tennessee in Johnson City. After about 3 years down there, my wife's my father-in-law, came down with cancer. He was in Owensboro, and we just happened to have some friends in Henderson that, gave us a place to stay for a couple months in their basement. After he passed, a few weeks after that, we found a place down on Culver Drive, a house that we rented for about 2 years. I finished up my undergrad, started working on my master's, and got really involved in local politics. Growing up as an Army brat, I had a, service-oriented family, not just from my father's military experience, but, every community we were in, it was involved in Salvation Army, United Way, Lions Club, Rotary, whatever it was in that community that my father got involved in. He often involved myself, and all levels of government and all, social service agencies have a capacity to impact people. So, when it came down to opportunity in Evansville, I felt that for myself and my talent, my skills, that I really had a niche and an opportunity to, give back in any role that I possibly could.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I would say we've had a lot of guests come on and talk about opportunity and the potential that Evansville has. And also, oftentimes, it's been the people. Like I just I really have come to appreciate and care for the people of this city. And it sounds like you had some great friends in the area that found some housing for you when you needed it.
Right. For
and
sure.
now you've spent a lot of your time, your professional time, helping people find housing, whether that was real estate or now with Aurora. It's pretty cool. And that kind of gets to the big question we wanted to talk about today, which was the Homeless Experience Project. So tell us about these 48 hours that you spent experiencing being homeless.
I'll start with kind of how this really came about. COVID really wreaked havoc on all nonprofits, having to cancel all of our events. It really looked, we had to kind of look inwards and say, hey, is it really doing what we hope it would accomplish? And that's really raising awareness for the people that we serve. So when I was at United Way as a development officer, there was an executive director at Aurora that did a 24-hour on the streets with a local news reporter at the time. It was, I think, Hillary Simon with Channel 14 at the time. And so he took that opportunity and really crafted out this, day-long kind of version of it. And I did this alongside some of the Young Leaders United. So we got to experience, the day shelter stuff. We got to experience the soup kitchens. We got to experience the intake at Aurora. And going through that experience made me think, what if we tried this on a grander scale, right? So we shot really high with the people that we were asking to come aboard. I mean, one of the first people that I asked was Mayor Lloyd Winnicky, and he was one of the first public leaders to come on board. We looked to people that were popular and had a following, and several of our board members that while they are board members, really learned a lot through this particular process.
Things have been pretty challenging today. It's really difficult to navigate the streets. It's difficult to navigate the services. It's cold. And I tell you what, myself and I know some of the other participants are really feeling that this is a lot more immersive than what we would have ever anticipated.
Ryan Hatfield here doing the 48 hours in the life.
Wayne Hart here. Quick update. I'm into the 8th hour now of my 48 hours in the life homeless experience. And the help is there. I'm finding that out. But there are, there's work that has to be done, paperwork that needs to be filled out.
A lot of appointments. Some I made, some I didn't. We missed our lunch earlier.
They can only have 6 people in the lobby because of COVID. And while you have an appointment, but you have to stand outside, and you got to hope that you hear the person who is coming out to tell you that it's time for your appointment. I am dressed for warmth and have a bag of stuff that I carry around, and we haven't showered in a couple of days, and people actively look the other way. Even a family member of mine walked right by me, didn't recognize me.
It's a lot of walking around. I'm not gonna lie, my feet are pretty tender.
Walking down John, the decision was, do you walk in the street and put not only yourself at risk, but other drivers at risk, or do you walk in the mud and risk the only pair of shoes that you have? If you can hear what I can hear right now, it's somebody who struggled in the shelter that I'm in, that is not able to stay, who was kicked out because of their mental health challenges. I know that 48 hours from now, I'm going to get all the comforts back, and everyone else on the floor in there doesn't.
It's actually a bigger issue than I anticipated. This place is basically full.
It's a saving grace and a departure from the cold air and the outdoors for sure. but it's about a half-inch mat that is on the floor, single room with 50, 60, 70 other people in it. And, at one point in the middle of the night, got woken up by a woman who had mistaken me for somebody else, shook me awake, but it was a tough place to sleep.
Time to get up was an early time, a little bit earlier than I expected, considering how late we were able to get in and get settled and get to sleep.
Just after 6 o'clock in the morning, it's 25 degrees. It's cold. Didn't sleep all that well. I'm exhausted. It would be a very different experience if I did not know that this was going to end. And so these folks that live in total uncertainty, it is the stress of that, I can tell you, without fully being able to appreciate it, would be just tremendous. And so, but I also want to share with you how much of a community this is. It has been surprising to me, I guess I'll say frankly, that they take care of each other and they laugh and they tell the same jokes. Some of the stigmas that go along with homelessness, that they are not working, or that they are lazy, or that they are not ambitious, or that they are crazy, or that they are on drugs, they just have not been true in my experience. There's certainly some of the folks that I have encountered dealing with some mental health issues. Some of them have obviously been dealing with some drug addiction issues, but many of them are working, and we need to face that as a community, that we have 500 people on the street every night, and many of them, I'm telling you, are in these shelters in the morning talking about their workday ahead of them, and then at dinner they're talking about the workday that they just left, and they just don't make enough money to find adequate housing, or there are other circumstances in their life that have led to their situation, their homelessness. Look at them, whether they're sitting down on concrete as you walk by, or they're standing, or look them in the eye and just say hello.
It was intense.
Mm-hmm.
It was both physically and emotionally exhausting. For me personally, it gave me a renewed sense of mission for the work that we do. It was actually quite humbling as well, for two reasons. One, when we think about our community, and it's, I have to agree, Ross, to something that you said. I mean, the people here are great, but we experience that in our day-to-day middle to upper class lives, right? When you are immersed in a homeless experience, or actually experiencing homelessness, you are amazed at how many people don't pay attention to you. Mm-hmm. But through my experience, when you're immersed, being immersed for those 48 hours, the community that we serve at Aurora, the over 400 men, women, children, and seniors that are experiencing homelessness each year, they notice you. They notice there's new people. They notice, that you need assistance, and you're blown away by how willing they are to help you navigate things, to point you in the direction of housing assistance, food assistance, getting your ID assistance. Right. Anything to that degree, and how compassionate and empathetic they are to you. Quite humbling in that respect, and even more so humbling that, not just myself, but most every participant was directed to Aurora, an agency I have the privilege to serve for, to help, and it's a testament to the team that we have, the social workers and the case management and the wraparound services that they provide. But it wasn't just us. I mean, obviously there's a tremendous network, and that was part of the immersion process, was you know, looking at and actually going through intakes at, you know, an ARG, an Echo Community Healthcare, a Southwestern Behavioral, a Vanderburgh County Health Department, you know, navigating the bus system, navigating, you know, the agencies, the state agencies, whether it be the BMV or whatever else it might be, or Social Security. And it's a lot, you know, when you are immersed in it just for 48 hours, you know, at the end of the day, you're going to get to go home, right? Which gives you an overwhelming, just an overwhowing amount of guilt, you know, through the process too.
Tell us a little bit more about why, like, the appointment, because I would guess there's this, not having experienced homelessness, it would be surprising to learn how long it takes to do everything.
Yeah, I mean, in 48 hours, you think, oh, you know, I'm a go-getter. I'm going to get all this stuff accomplished. And then you're really slapped in the face with the reality of what it is, you know?
And on top of those things, you're trying to figure out, where am I going to eat today? And where am I going to sleep tonight? And like, those are kind of like the more pressing priorities. And maybe it's easier to manage all of that, like you said, whenever it is a 48-hour experience. But whenever that's like the indefinite future that you see in front of you, that can be really challenging and discouraging. And I would imagine that feels like an uphill battle all the way.
But it really, you know, brings home the emotional and, you know, stress and anxiety that the homeless experience brings about, right? That uncertainty of what's next, and balancing, you know, essential needs like food and shelter with, you know, opportunity for improvement.
Yeah, I'm just imagining the time and all the planning, and, you know, you can feel like, oh, it's been a week and all I've done is a couple steps. You know?
Right.
I imagine that there is a lot that you were maybe able to anticipate about this experience, both because you had done kind of a scaled back version in the past, and you have kind of like worked in that arena for a long time. Was there anything that surprised you?
A lot, really. I don't even know where to start, to be honest. Some of the things that we took away is, you know, despite how great a network we have, I mean, there's gaps, right? We don't have enough shelter beds for families in our community. And while we have a great shelter system through, you know, Rescue Mission, UCS, Roof's House, House and Bread and Peace, Ozanam, we don't have enough.
Yeah, that's good. I'm curious, what's maybe like one thing that you feel like you'll do differently as a city council person or as the director of Aurora? You know, what's this experience done for how you approach things, or even something you might do differently?
Right. So I'm still, you know, we're not being too far removed from the 48 hours experience. I'll be honest with you, I'm really still trying to unpack it. But two of the things that I think are most important, and things that both as a city councilor and as an executive director for a homeless services agency, I can do a greater job of. And that's, one, being a greater advocate for affordable housing, whether that's, you know, rehabilitative affordable housing, where, you know, Affordable Housing Trust Fund is investing in, you know, taking dilapidated homes, turning them into properties and giving them to lower to moderate income families. But, you know, the other side of it is the homeless services world, whether it's our community or nationwide, has really went away from transitional housing. So, you know, transitional housing is, you know, effectively where an individual or family is experiencing homelessness and they go into it knowing that it's going to be short term, and that, you know, the ultimate objective is to find another housing situation that is a greater stabilized situation.
Basically, you have a place to live while you figure out all of that.
Exactly. And while organizations like Aurora and others are coming in to help out with services, while you're helping to establish, you know, job history, while you're helping to, you know, maybe establish some credit history or something to that degree, you know, some of the things that often serve as barriers, right? And And now, I mean, especially with the housing stock the way that it is, so limited in our community, I think transitional housing right now is one of the greatest needs that we could have, whether it's here and it's here forever to stay, or if it's serving as a bridge during this difficult time where housing stock is so low.
So if someone in Evansville wants to be part of the solution, what are some of the ways that somebody can get involved? Maybe ranging from like, I just want to get a little involved, I want to help in some way, but I can't commit in a real big way. Or if somebody's listening and they say, I want to become like really involved in this and committed in a way that's going to make a really big difference. Because a lot of these issues are not like, there's not an easy solution.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big systemic issue that requires like systemic solutions as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think you touched on something. I mean, systemic is about as best an idea to tackle as it can be. So, I mean, whether it's being, working directly with an Aurora as a board member or helping us to raise awareness or being an advocate for affordable housing in our community, being an advocate for education. I think one of the things, having, and Jonathan, I think you and I have kind of talked about this a little bit before, but
right.
Having early childhood education in our community would be just uniform all across the board.
Mm-hmm.
No ifs, ands, or buts would be probably one of the biggest things that Evansville and Vanderbilt County and southwestern Indiana could do to improve that particular situation. And I say this because I've lived in many different communities, different states, different countries. This is the only community I've ever lived in that did not have, utilitarian access to early childhood education. And the data shows that once you get behind as a child, the likelihood of, experiencing homelessness, the likelihood of, criminal activity, likelihood of, a multitude of barriers to success crop up. So, as executive director, I mean, obviously, I want people to be involved with Aurora. I want people to support us. But I also, have to be honest and acknowledge everything else that, impacts the success of the work that we have, and also brings about, increasing the population of what we see. So, advocating on the federal level, advocating on the state level for mental health services,
Mm-hmm.
for substance abuse services, things that have, kind of went by the wayside for some time. But we know, especially through the community health needs assessment, that is very important to our community.
That's great. I'm curious if we could talk to, like, where do you see hope? Like, what are you most excited about in terms of change and, helping people who are experiencing homelessness? Or, is it you're excited about the collaboration you're seeing in the city? Or, like, where are you as, a city council person and a person who's leading an important nonprofit in social services? Where are you excited? Like, what are you excited about? Where do you see hope?
Well, I mean, I'm pushing 2 years into this role, and I can tell you just from an Aurora standpoint, I'm really excited about the team that we have. Our partnerships have not been any stronger. We've got a great opportunity to really start moving the needle a lot greater year in and year out. And most importantly, with regards to those experiencing chronically homeless in our community. Over the past 5 years, Aurora, alongside Echo Housing, one of our greatest partners in housing, has really been able to move that number from approximately 140 down to 35.
Wow.
And just so you know what chronically homeless is, the HUD definition of that is an individual who has spent 12 months or more consecutively, or has 3 instances or more over a 2-year period that totals 12 months or more. right?
Okay.
So according to our last point in time count data that, we were able to identify 35 chronically homeless individuals in our community. Over this next year, we believe with a new development called the Promise Home at Echo Housing that's going to happen. It's going to be over next to Garfield Commons. It'll be about a 24 to 26 individual permanent supportive housing unit. That's going to give us an opportunity to really get close to functional zero with chronically homeless in our community. So the exciting thing about that is now we can do a greater job of focusing on, our rapid rehousing program, transitioning to our street and our shelter non-chronically homeless population, which makes up the vast majority of the over 400 men, women, children, and seniors that are experiencing homelessness in our community. So that's absolutely exciting. The other side of it is, as a city councilor, is I think we have a really good city council and a really good mayor and administration to take this blessed time with these ARP dollars and really invest for the long term. And I think this is a great opportunity to invest in our affordable housing. It's not often that a local government gets, $64+ million and says, go work on your infrastructure, go work on, improving your social services. That's super exciting. I feel really honored to be in a position both in city council and, with Aurora at this time. It's almost kind of serendipitous as much as I have wanted to be involved and do good things for this community to be in a position to, kind of roll my sleeves up and help in any way I can through these great opportunities. So,
Well, thanks for taking time today to share with us, and thanks for going through the homeless experience. I think that's pretty awesome to have a director of a nonprofit actually just go and say, hey, I want to understand as best I can people I'm trying to serve. So we can all learn from that,
Yeah.
That's for sure.
And y'all are more than welcome to join us next year if you want to do the 48-hour experience.
Well, thanks a lot, Zach. Appreciate
Thank
it,
you.
man.
I love that project because I think it's such a good example of the power of empathy, kind of putting yourself in somebody else's shoes. And I don't know that there's necessarily a better way to do that than to literally put yourself in somebody else's shoes like they did. But, even just hearing their stories and their experiences, I feel like has helped me better understand and relate to our homeless population in Evansville. And, Zach talked about how part of their experience that was really discouraging was the way that just regular people in the city interacted with them or didn't interact with them.
Right. We often find ourselves actively trying to avoid people who we sort of identify as possibly homeless. Maybe they're going to ask me for something.
Right.
I just want to avoid that completely. Maybe I perceive some kind of danger, whatever the reasons are. We're actively trying to avoid that. And so, Zach pointing out, like, there were people who were going through this experience and their spouse drove by or a relative and they didn't even notice them.
Right.
And it's just like, wow, that's, but imagine feeling that.
Yeah.
We've all felt unnoticed before. I think even a simple smile and hello, might just be an easy way to say, oh, yeah, I have some empathy for this person. We're sharing the sidewalk. I'm driving by, whatever. I can wave. I can say hello or, hey, hope you're having a good day, something.
Right.
It doesn't mean you have to jump in and solve a problem necessarily.
Right.
But we are kind of perpetuating one if we continue to actively ignore.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big challenge. It starts with empathy. And I love that you said, you started with this idea of empathy as this immersive experience. And I think it'll be great if they allow other people to have this experience as well in the future. But I just wanted to point out, but you're a storyteller. And that's sort of what you're trying to get people to do with the films we're doing. It's to inspire empathy and to be able to see things through a different lens.
Right.
And this is actually going and living it out.
Yeah. Well,
if
and
you
I
can't
think
do that, maybe you can check out some of
Yeah.
our films, but that's
Yeah.
kind of the storyteller's job, right?
Right. Yes. And even if you can't, even if you don't find stories that give you a glimpse inside somebody else's experience, I feel like I have been more impacted by our films than anybody else because of the process of making them
Mm-hmm.
and sitting down with people and talking to them about their
Right.
experiences. And the films kind of give me an excuse to do that, but I don't have to make a film to have a
Right.
conversation with somebody
Yeah.
and understand their circumstances. And so, what would it look like to even take some time, like set aside some time and have enough margin in your life that when you see somebody who appears to be experiencing homelessness, you just have a conversation with them,
Mm-hmm.
and like get to know them a little bit better. And maybe that's over like lunch or something like that, or maybe you're just hanging out with them where they're at and accompanying them in whatever they're doing at that moment, and just getting to know their story and their experience a little bit better. And I think that can be hugely impactful for you as the listener and also to the person you're listening to. Like for somebody to take a genuine interest in your story, is a powerful thing. And I think the thing that you often realize is how interconnected we all are in our community and in our city.
Mm-hmm.
We like to like kind of think of ourselves as individual and separate, but we're tightly integrated with other people in our city. And I thought it was interesting the way Zac responded to the question of like, how can we respond to this
Right. Yeah.
with talking about early childhood education? Because I think that points to how much different aspects of our community are just inseparable from each other.
Yeah, I thought that was really fascinating. So join a board to get involved with early childhood education, which I know our city is really working hard to try to make that possible for every kid to have that opportunity.
Right.
But there's a lot of work to do to make that a reality. So that was really fascinating. I didn't see that response coming, so that was really cool to learn that. But it does point to that. We're all connected, and all of the issues are connected. All of the challenges that we've been talking about over this season, and the ways people who are living for Evansville, being for the city, they're all connected. Like everything is so complex. And so it is about kind of landing where you feel you have some time and some passion, and you want to see some little corner of evil not exist in our city. You're going to end up touching a lot of different issues. So
That's right.
the most important thing, I think, is do something. There's lots that can be done. So hopefully you've gotten a chance to hear about a lot of different opportunities over this season. We really want to see a city where every person experiences love and gives love. Every person prioritizes the holistic well-being of all people, and every person has work that provides community value and individual purpose. I know that's a lot, but we think if those things are happening, that is a city where everyone can flourish. And so we hope that you can live not just in Evansville, but be for Evansville and work towards that vision.